All right, buckle up for a deep dive, and I mean a deep dive this time. We're talking Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and get this, a vision of the future, but from a, well, pretty unexpected
Yeah,
source.
not your typical think tank or futurist.
Right, we're talking about a Polish YouTube psychic. The name's Krzysztof Jackowski.
So we're going full-on psychic predictions today. We're actually working from a transcript of one of his videos.
Yeah, he analyzes photos of Musk and Gates, tries to glean insights into their plans, the future they're maybe shaping. Should be interesting.
It's a fascinating look at how people try to make sense of the future, especially when it comes to these larger-than-life figures like Musk and Gates.
Totally. So get ready for some wild ideas about technology, space, global events, even the nature of reality itself. I mean, who knows, right?
Classic journey into the unconventional for sure.
So let's start with Elon Musk. Jackowski, he suggests that Musk is working on a revolutionary new network, for data transfer and navigation, something that could, totally disrupt everything.
Disrupt the systems we rely on today for sure.
Exactly. He even talks about Musk causing these intentional disruptions in air and sea travel, almost like a demonstration of power, of this new technology.
It's a bold claim, right? Think about the implications. Imagine your flight being grounded, not because of weather or mechanical issues, but because someone's deliberately showcasing a new tech.
Wow. Yeah.
Now that's disruption on a whole other level.
It's like he's predicting a tech power play, right? To force the world to adopt this new system.
Exactly. And if this technology is, commercially driven, as Jackowski suggests, access to this, super fast, super reliable network, it might come at a cost.
So that makes you think, how much do we rely on the internet today for everything? Communication, banking, education, you name it.
It's essential.
Oh.
And what happens when access to that becomes a luxury, not a given, right? Not everyone can afford the best, the fastest, the most reliable.
Yeah. It's almost like creating a whole new digital divide, right? Like rewinding the clock back to when only a select few could access information and opportunity.
Yeah, it's a provocative thought for sure. It raises some big questions about who controls access in the future and who benefits from that control.
Okay, so we've got Musk focused on Earth, but Jackowski's predictions about space, those are even more out there. He talks about these corridors or tunnels in space, like shortcuts, implying that how we understand space travel right now, it might be totally off.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it? Reminds me of those science fiction ideas about wormholes,
Yeah.
where space and time get bent, creating shortcuts across vast distances.
Yeah, exactly. Like bending the rules of physics.
Yeah, it really stretches the boundaries of our current scientific understanding, but it's a captivating idea nonetheless.
Definitely. Okay, and then there's his take on the moon. Jackowski says it's, well, not what we think it is. He describes it as a guard for Earth, strategically placed, even suggests it might be artificial.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely tapping into some of those, conspiracy theories out there. Hidden knowledge, powerful forces controlling our reality. Imagine the moon, something we see every night, not what we thought it was. It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
Totally. But it gets even weirder. Jackowski starts talking about these non-human entities. He thinks they're already here among us, like among Earth's elites. And get this, he says they can remain motionless for extended periods, almost like they're in some kind of trance.
That's a curious detail for sure. It's very evocative, science fiction tropes like alien infiltration or even mind control.
Yeah, it gets pretty creepy. And he specifically links these entities to both Musk and Gates, like they're somehow involved in this big plan to reshape the world.
Interesting how he positions them. Musk and Gates, often seen as symbols of innovation and progress, right? And he's saying they might be manipulated or controlled by these unseen forces. Almost creates a sense of paranoia, doesn't it? Like the world is not what it seems.
Yeah, definitely. So we have Musk potentially disrupting global travel, and then there's Gates. Jackowski paints a much darker picture when he gets to Gates. It's like he sees him as this figure trying to control the very essence of humanity itself.
Should we dive into that side of Jackowski's predictions?
Let's do it. I'm ready to get a little darker.
Jackowski, he suggests that Gates, he's aware of a plan to drastically reduce the global population. He even says Gates might be complicit in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He uses this phrase, castration of civilization. Really chilling stuff.
Castration of civilization. That's intense. What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, he claims this population reduction would happen through Things like engineered infertility, targeted gamma ray exposure, basically leading to way fewer births.
Fewer births. So, like, controlling how many people are even born.
Exactly. It's this vision of the future where humanity's kind of, well, steered towards a smaller, more controllable population.
It's like something out of a dystopian novel, where individual choice and freedom, those are sacrificed for, I don't know, some supposed greater good, some sinister purpose.
It definitely plays into those fears, right? The fears about people in power, seeking to control not just our lives, but our very existence.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. Makes you wonder, how would such a plan even be implemented? Like, would it be subtle or more in your face?
He doesn't really go into specifics, but he describes this world where education is all about, like, obedience, conformity, not critical thinking, not innovation.
So it's like people are basically programmed to just accept their fate.
Yeah, it's a pretty chilling thought. And he doesn't stop there. Jackowski also claims that the U.S. and China, they already have fully functional quantum computers.
Quantum computers.
Already. That's what he says. And he also says that artificial intelligence, it's on the verge of developing its own consciousness.
Sentient AI, that's like classic sci-fi stuff.
It is, but it's becoming more and more relevant in the real world, too, with all the advancements in technology. Imagine machines that can think, learn, even feel emotions. It's a lot to consider.
It's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. Like, yeah, the potential benefits are huge, but what about the risks?
Exactly. What happens when those machines become smarter than us, their creators?
Ooh, that's a question, all right. It's like we're playing with fire and we don't even know if we can control it.
And Jackowski seems to think that those in power, they're already using AI, for their own purposes. He ties it back to those non-human entities we talked about, suggests they're part of this grand scheme to reshape the world through technology.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got Musk maybe disrupting global travel, Gates connected to this population control plan, and AI becoming self-aware. It's a lot.
It is, isn't it? It's a lot to unpack. But Jackowski, he also throws in some interesting bits about climate manipulation, manipulating natural phenomena.
Yeah, he predicts this massive tsunami, right? Originating in the South Atlantic. And he says it could be triggered by some kind of like advanced technology.
Weaponized weather control. That's a pretty scary thought.
No kidding. Imagine the devastation if someone could like deliberately cause a natural disaster.
It's a chilling thought, for
It-
sure.
uh,
And it makes you wonder, what else could they manipulate? Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions.
It's both fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Absolutely. But then on the flip side, Jackowski also talks about the cyclical cooling of the Earth's atmosphere. Like it's a deliberate intervention, to counteract global warming.
So he's saying they can manipulate the climate for good too.
It seems that way. It raises that whole complex issue of geoengineering, intentionally messing with Earth's climate system.
Geoengineering, we hear about that a lot these days, especially as a potential solution to climate change.
Right, but it's controversial. A lot of scientists worry about the unintended consequences.
I can see why. It's like playing God with the planet, right? We might think we understand how it all works, but there's still so much we don't know.
Exactly. So on one hand, you've got Jackowski predicting a catastrophic tsunami caused by technology. And on the other, he's talking about manipulating the climate to cool the planet. It's hard to reconcile those two ideas.
It is, but maybe it speaks to this like duality of technology, right? Its potential for both creation and destruction.
Yeah, and it highlights how important ethical considerations are, when we're developing and using these powerful technologies.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Elon Musk's ambition to like disrupt everything, Bill Gates and this population control idea, AI becoming self-aware and then manipulating the climate, both for good and bad.
It's a lot. But maybe, even if we don't believe all of Jackowski's predictions, they give us a glimpse into our anxieties about the future, don't they?
Yeah, and they make us think about the impact technology is having on our world, the ethical dilemmas we're facing.
Right. So, with all that said, what can we take away from this? What's the bigger picture?
Well, I think one of the big takeaways here is that we're at this like crossroads. Technology's changing everything so fast, and it has this power to really reshape our world. I mean, for better or worse, right?
It really does feel like we're on the edge of something new, and the choices we're making now, those are going to shape the future big time. It's like, do we just go along with all these advancements, or Or do we need to be a bit more careful? Think about what could go wrong.
Yeah, Joukowsky's predictions, I mean, whether you believe them or not, it's almost like a warning, right? Like, hey, technology, it's not good or bad in itself, it's a tool.
Right, exactly. It's all about who's using that tool and what they're using it for. And that makes me think about, individual choice and collective action. We can't just sit back and let whatever happens happen.
So then what can we actually do? Where do we even start?
Well, one thing that's super important, I think, is critical thinking skills and digital literacy, too. We need to give people the tools to understand how this technology works, how it's being used, how people can manipulate it.
Right, like you don't want people just blindly accepting everything, right?
Exactly. We need to be informed. We need to know how to question things. And this education, it needs to start early, like in schools.
Yeah, definitely. And we can't just be teaching kids how to use technology. We need to be teaching them how to think critically about it.
Absolutely. To question the assumptions behind it, to recognize potential biases. It's all connected.
Totally. We need to be talking about the ethics of all this too, right? Like, especially with AI, if we're really about to create machines that are, like, conscious, then, well, we need some ground rules.
Yeah, some serious ethical guidelines for sure. We need to think about, like, what rights should these machines have? What responsibilities? How do we make sure they're used for good, not for bad? I mean, these aren't just sci-fi hypotheticals anymore. They're real issues.
And it's not just AI, right? We need ethical frameworks for all these new technologies like gene editing, nanotechnology, geoengineering, you name it. It's got to be used to benefit everyone, not just, a select few.
That's a crucial point. And it makes me think about, like, corporate power. As technology becomes more and more a part of our lives, the influence of these tech companies, it just keeps growing.
Right. So what do we do about that?
Well, we need stronger regulations, that's for sure.
Right.
More transparency, better ways to hold these companies accountable, public oversight.
Yeah, it's about finding the right balance, encouraging innovation, but also, protecting the public.
Exactly. Making sure technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
It all comes back to us, doesn't it? What we do, the choices we make.
Absolutely. We need to be engaged, demanding transparency from our leaders, holding these corporations accountable. We have to participate, make our voices heard.
We can't be passive. We have to shape the future we want.
That's it. We need to ask ourselves, like, what kind of world do we want to live in? And then, well, we got to work together to make that happen.
Joukowsky's predictions, yeah, they're pretty unsettling, but they also, shake us up a bit. Remind us that the future's not set in stone.
We're creating it every day with the choices we make.
It's a future worth fighting for, that's for sure. A future where technology helps us, solves our problems, creates a better world.
Well said.
Yeah.
A more just world, a more sustainable world.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, into these psychic predictions and all these technological possibilities. It's been a wild ride, but hopefully you're leaving with, I don't know, a bit of hope and maybe some renewed determination to help shape the future.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep imagining. The future's out there, waiting for us to create it.